It's all sorted now, babe.
Am I in the right position?
You are in the right position. So I'm just hoping that when I get in, I'm in the right position because...
You know, you can sort that out by just putting the mirror right there. You want to do that real quick?
It's a good idea. Hey, you sit down. Oh, I can see.
You can.
Yeah, I can see.
When you sit down, you can see.
Yes, when I'm sitting down.
No way you can't.
Stand up.
I know you can see when you stand up, but not when you're sitting down.
All right.
It's alright. As long as you're in frame, it doesn't really matter.
It's the principle of it.
Am I still good that I sat back?
Yes, you're absolutely fine.
Okay.
You look like sugar and spice and everything nice. I'm just saying.
I know that's right.
So what are we going to talk about today? What was the discussion? Because we always go back to...
Previous conversations.
Yes. Just read my mind. Previous conversations where we'd be like, oh, so this is what we're going to be talking about. This is what we're going to be talking about. And you know what? We go to a point where like, this is the definitive thing we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Today, we're talking about, is your spirituality really helping you? And this was inspired by, not going to say any names or anything like that. And this is not coming from a place of judgment. It was just a genuine thought that I had to myself where Paul was scrolling down his Instagram and there was someone in a video and they were speaking about like, I guess more of the scientific nature of like consciousness. And I can't even really like say what he said verbatim, but it was so much stuff that I couldn't help but think that like, is this really helping you though? Like, it sounds good. I understand it makes sense. I know people like love to understand the science of things, but that's what inspired that question is this form of spirituality really helping?
But that delves into less of the spiritual side. It is interwoven, but I think it's less of that nature. I think it's more about conspiracy theories. Where the content that you're talking about, I agree with you. I think that from a spiritualistic point of view, I don't think it's content that would be helpful. That's my opinion. I think from a, and I'm just going to be real, I'm going to be real honest here. If you're into conspiracy theories, that channel, I recommend you going there, but I'm not going to say the names. So if you've got an idea and read in between the lines, I'd say go for it. But I don't think it helps with self-improvement. Knowledge is great per se to know about like historical events, but for me it's not just like what you need to learn in terms of spirituality. Self, you need to learn more about you, self, that's where I believe, that's where I know you must tackle with certain issues. It must be from you first, I.
So there are two things that I noticed that you said, and I agree with you. The first thing is, I know you said that like, it's real, science and spirituality aren't really like the same thing, but I personally feel like science is just our explanation of the spiritual. So in a way it is a form of spirituality to me, because I really enjoy like quantum physics and how certain things that you find maybe in religions are basically the same thing confirmed with things we found out in science. And I think as you were talking, what I realized is it's all about intention. And where I think the confusion happens is, let's say someone does read the science, it's easy to get caught up in that level within the mind.
But that's
within
a rabbit
ego.
hole.
Exactly.
Can I quickly just interwade there? Because I don't want to lose my train of thought. Baby, that's one of the situations where I feel like people get lost in the source of that. And that's when I say about that rabbit hole, they completely forget about self. And that's what I'm trying to nail on the head of everybody. There's lots of information. I think it's amazing. Knowledge is power. But when you neglect self first, the whole thing doesn't matter to me. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree with you 100%, and I think reading in between the lines, what happens is when it's easier, more enjoyable, I think, to delve into the conspiracy theories, to delve into like even the more science type of things, because the hardest thing in spirituality, in my opinion, is facing yourself. So it's easy to confuse the work of knowing yourself by exploring things outside of you. Oh, the government is doing this. Oh, health this, food this. But the moment that we have to look within ourselves and say, okay, but what's the healing that needs to go on in here? That's the messy process that a lot of people avoid for a while.
Yeah, because here's my thing, right? I get it. Everybody's entitled to look for answers towards questions that many people have been, searching for. Recently, I'm not going to say the complete word of it because it gets demonetized on YouTube, but the cough, the pandemic, and what is the cough?
Go ahead. No. I know what you're saying. It was just funny.
And what I'm saying is, like, people are delving into conspiracy theories. This has happened. How about you research yourself and how to better your own health? How about you look for strengthening your immune system against these sort of quote unquote things that have come into our immune system and attacked us? Stop looking for, oh, this person, it was made in the laboratory. It was made in here in the markets. How about you? That's what I keep saying. Focus on self. Focus on your health first. I've always said it, and I'm always going to keep it 100. It's always about making sure you have knowledge that will help yourself first before you can help others. So before you even deep dive into these so-called conspiracy theories, focus on you. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The cough. Did you like that?
I did. The cough. I'm gonna call it that from now on.
Yeah, because that gets demonetized now, right?
I don't know if it still does.
Well, on Twitter, you get fact checked now. And on YouTube for a large period of time, certain channels were getting demonetized, as well as mysteriously having strikes here and there, that sort of thing.
I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. Yeah.
But yes, I mean, I digress. But yes, when it comes to, these sort of like nature, I always say focus on self first, and then you can deep dive. You're free to deep dive, but I've always kept it like that.
I like that you said that, because if I had to give anyone advice for someone who's either starting their spiritual journey or they kind of feel lost in the sauce a little bit, because that happens to me as well, even though I've been doing this for years, there's always points in my life where I'm like, okay, what am I doing? What do I need to be doing? Where do I need to put my focus? And in everything that you do, I always recommend, like Paul said, that it is on self. Whether it's you learning about manifestation, whether it's you learning about crystals or doing yoga or whatever spiritual practice that you're engaging in, focusing on yourself is the best way to make sure that it's really helping you.
And I completely agree with you. It was quite, I know everything's in divine timing, because there was a large period of time when me and Saige were just speaking, we were planning, we were thinking, what are we going to say next? What are we going to talk about? What's the next episode going to be? What's our next topic? I mean, we were looking into things, we're that's okay, that's all right. Maybe we should look into this. But things didn't click until today. And that was when Saige was like, that's the topic. And then not only I agreed, I was like, there's a click to it. And I feel very passionate about it because I see a lot of people getting lost within not just like the source, but not just information, but with themselves. I feel like during these practices, people forget about the fact that we live in a 3D, and I've seen people lose their jobs, lose the sight of reality, lose their friends, because they're fully focused on just being in the astral. And I just say to yourself, like, there's a time where you have to go back and look at what's there in front of you, your family, your friends, even kids. That's why I've always said that, we should go back to our point of origin. The moment when we astral project or when we meditate. That's what I'm saying. What do you think about what I just said?
I agree with you 100%. And it kind of touched on what I'm going through now, in essence of, through spirituality, you have to be careful not to bypass the human experience. And a lot of times we get so caught up in learning and consciously knowing what we need to do that we forget that the body is its own realm of where things exist, such as emotions. So, not to get off on a tangent, but I just want to share my little experience and how it's relevant. But there's been a lot of things that I've been working through the past couple of months that I didn't realize this is what I was doing, but I was trying to intellectualize my way out of it, because consciously, like, I've been doing shadow work for years. At one point on my Instagram and most of my following back in the day, I was like the queen of shadow work. I knew how to do it left, right, front, center. Like, I know what I'm doing. But I was intellectualizing how I was feeling instead of just letting myself feel, because I was, in essence, deeming my emotions, Saige the human, as like bad, whether it was sadness or anger or frustration. Instead of feeling those things, I would just automatically jump to, how do I feel better? How do I apply what I have learned because I know better? And it was just piling judgment and shame on top of those things. And so the past couple of days, I've just been in this process of, any time that I'm triggered or I'm feeling something, I just let myself feel it and I hold that space. And I think this experience is relevant to what you were saying, in the sense of, like, you came here to have the human experience, and don't let your journey of, or your spiritual path of trying to ascend, make you leave your humanness behind. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I feel it more so because I've seen a lot of people go through spiritual psychosis where they've lost their sight of just the reality here. And, that's one of the most heartbreaking things, when you could speak to someone, and some certain times life, your heart, you don't hardly see each other. You've got your own stuff to do. They've got their own stuff to do. And the next few months or so, it's heartbreaking to see that person that you spoke to, how's your day been? They're completely disengaged, because in their mind, all they've got to think about is heading back to the astral, heading back to the astral, heading back to the astral. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's the one thing that's one of my fears myself, that that's why I stay grounded. That's why I speak to, like, my regular guys, because that's one foot there in here. And then there's certain times when I channel, as I channel, and there are times when I'm in different places, as different dimensions, as and for me, that's where it's important. And I keep telling people, I have this on my Instagram, I've said this on my TikTok, and I'm going to do more about it on YouTube, but the importance of grounding and making sure that you are not going to lose the sight of reality, where many have, and it's very important to me, because I just want people to know that being your most authentic self, is you being here now, in the present. And a lot of people lose that, Maybe maybe it's a time where they lose their sight of reality because it's their form of escapism, trauma that they haven't really delved into and, got the help that they need. And I'm just saying to people, and it's important to me that, you know, when you're dealing with the present and you're here and you can feel and you can breathe and you can taste, you can love, you can cry, those things are all okay. You know, those things for me are what's important while you're here, you know, in human form. You know, there will be times when you can go and astral project, but staying quote unquote, I've heard people saying that they stayed there, and I just think to myself, but what comes up must come back down. Don't lose yourself in it. You know? That's why when me and Saige were talking, we make sure that, and this is important as well. I know I'm just digressing a little bit, but even with my like my readings or when I channel, I have to make sure that mind, body, and spirit, that I'm 100% like optimum to do so. And I don't want to do that I don't want to do anything less, because for me it's going to be a complete disservice to people that have asked me for help, and it'll be a disservice to me. It's not, I'm not showing integrity if I don't do that. You know?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add?
No, I think you nailed everything right on the head of like feeling your emotions, being within that integrity of like checking on your human before you try to check on someone else's human. Well, I guess it's not really something that I'm adding on, but I just wanted your opinion of what I've been noticing is that the more that you actually embrace the emotions that you're feeling, not from a victim standpoint, right? Because we don't want to drown in our emotions or sit in them in a dark place, but just recognizing that they're there and holding a safe space for what you're feeling. That almost feels like the spiritual experience. Like I feel closer to my higher self when I do that, and like the frequency of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you think?
With the frequency of love?
Yeah, just embracing your emotions more instead of seeing them something as that you need to ascend from.
I think it's a strength that people need to build on themselves, where it's where I always say to people, you need to make the uncomfortable comfortable, and part of that is being vulnerable and speaking, and not just speaking but dealing with certain things proactively. And that part of its proactivity is speaking up about certain things that maybe you've had to go through, or maybe other people, you know, consciously that somebody else might have been through themselves, so you hold space for them. That's very important to me, and that's where the love transcends and ascends, you know, as its highest form. What do you think about that?
1,000,000%. You hit it on the head per usual. And as far as like the vulnerability piece, you've inspired me so much as far as vulnerability, because the way you're sharing more of yourself on social media, the perfectionist in me is still struggling to do that, you know, because, you know.
But babe, I've said this before, but it's not about striving for perfection. It's striving for authenticity.
I know. Like, I consciously know that. Like, you consciously know that you don't need to be a perfectionist, but there's still an element in me that I'm embracing, a voice that I'm tapping into that, like, who I am in every moment deserves to be seen and is accepted and good enough. And so...
You are good enough. You're more than that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not just speaking for me, I'm speaking for some of the people that we know, and how valued you are in terms of intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, what you've done around the community, i.e. my friends, my family, and the people that are outside of that community. Those who just scroll up and just look at Saige and goes, oh my God, you're amazing. Guess what? She is. And inspiring even more than that, you know. For me, it's important for me to show Saige that the things I've said from the start, and tell her that these great things I've said about Saige. She's always had that in the locker. She's always had that in her. But it's up to Saige whether she wants to unearth those things. And I'm here to support Saige during that time.
Mm.
You know, during these transformations, because I know you've been great already. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's not even, I mean, yes, there's an element of me learning that, but truly it's little Saige that is still learning that. And we've been connecting a lot. I mean, we've always been in touch with each other, but recently it's been a very big focus for me. And it's a journey, and I appreciate all the support and unending love that you have shown me from the very beginning when you gave me that reading up until now. You've been amazing.
Amazing. Do you know what? Do you know what I want to do? I was going to say this. I think one thing I've learned from Saige, and this is what I want people to do when they can. I want you to go to your partner, your friend, or someone that you care for, and I want you to tell them why they're so great and why you know they're great. And that will make a big difference. I'm telling you. I am telling you.
That's a good idea. I'm going to do that.
All right. Well, that's the task. You guys got to let us know in the comments for the next episode. If you guys ever done that, that would be amazing. All right. I go by the name of Paul, and this is the second episode of We Hold Space.
Sorry.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
I'm Saige the Dragon, and again, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you all.
And we hold.
Let's do it again.
Okay. And we hold space.
I think that was good.
That was.
Why do you always do that?
I can't believe it. I've done it again.
No, you didn't.
I know.
Your eyes don't lie. And I know what your real frustration looks like.
Damn it.